See, when I was coming to Germany a long time ago as an African, I had absolutely no idea what to expect. I did, go to the German language school in Lagos at the time to learn a thing or two about the German language and also to just, familiarize myself with the culture here. But all what I saw in the textbook at the time was nothing compared to what I saw on ground. When I came, I was absolutely shocked. And in this video, I'm going to be going about a few things that kind of blew my mind away that made me kind of see my homeland, my home continent, Africa, even my country as a country that still has a lot of work to be done. Of course, I'm not coming here to bash, Nigeria as a country or, Africa as a whole. I'm just saying that these are the things I found out. And these things shocked me for a very, very long time to the point where I was beginning to wonder, hey, how is it possible that Europe is so far ahead in these basic things and some of these things are not so expensive to provide. And as a matter of fact, these are things that we are actually in very dead need of when you go to Africa, Nigeria, to be very, very specific. One of the things I found out that was prevalent here was the fact that there was public toilet systems everywhere. I was shocked to realize that it doesn't matter where you went, even on the highway, let's say you are driving from one city to the other, there's a possibility for you to stop your car and use a very clean public toilet. I'm not talking about some old dilapidated toilet, a functional toilet where you even have water to wash your hands, you have soap to wash your hands, you have toilet paper to use when you are done. And the funny thing is that these toilets, they were looking very, very clean. I'm here to, go into a toilet where everything has been broken, dilapidated. I'm talking about world-class toilets, with good water systems. Everything that you needed to find was there. You go to the restaurant, you go to public places like city centers, you go to places that you would ordinarily consider to be villages, all having these facilities. And I'm asking myself, how is this possible? Where I come from, this thing is going to be a luxury. Of course, there might be pockets of places here and there, but on a general scale, you do not find this kind of facility or this kind of culture is still, alien to us. If you go to places like Lagos, it's very alien. It's not a common thing to find. Even as of 2026, public toilet systems are still kind of considered a very big luxury. When I came here, that was a basic shock to me. I never ever had a situation where I'll be in a place and I'll be stranded. If you've ever been in their need, to go to a toilet without finding one, you will understand what I mean. You will understand why this is a very, very practical thing to have. You go to the gas stations, there's a possibility for you to use a toilet there. You go to the restaurants, you go to the schools, you have toilets, you go to the city centers. Like I said, you go to the train stations. Everywhere is pretty much like a standard, facility to have. As long as it's a place where people are going to be, conglomerating, there will be a public toilet there. And that was a major shock to me. And as at now, I still do not find that in Africa, which is something that we have to actually look into. It's a very good thing to have. As a matter of fact, these are basic things. Like I said, they are not even expensive. This is something that we can actually come together, contribute money and provide public, toilet systems in different places. But quite recently, I'm beginning to observe that some of these, public toilets that you have around in Germany, especially in the city where I live, a lot of them now expect you, to pay a stipend, 50 cents, €1, and some toilet systems also have a bathroom attached to it, in which case you are looking at paying like €2 to use the facility. It's not so expensive because when you consider the fact that for those facilities to be kept clean, somebody has to be on ground to ensure that everything is working the way it should. It's clean at all time, toilet paper refilled, the soap refilled. And it's just, normal for us to, kind of tax ourselves a little bit to ensure that this person is paid, a favorable income to be motivated to do that job. Sometimes it's a little bit inconveniencing. You're in a hurry to use the toilet. You try to open the door and realize that it's closed, and then you have to start to look for money. I get it, a little bit inconveniencing, but if you take a look at it from the other perspective of the fact that the worker there has to be motivated and the facilities, has to be taken care of. Sometimes you need a technician to come in and unplug the toilet. You need to pay this person, and sometimes the toilet paper is exhausted. You need to buy a new one. It is just what it is. But this is not to say that every public toilet that you have around has to be paid for. I still used a free one 2 days ago. And it's interesting to realize that in spite of the rising cost of toilet paper, hand wash, and the list goes on and on and on. Another thing that kind of shocked me when I came to Germany was the fact that waste recycling was a thing here. Not just that they are talking about it, people kind of put a lot of conscious efforts to actually ensure that, first of all, waste are separated. I did make a video about this a few days ago. Waste are separated, your bio waste, what you kind of generate when you are, cooking, rest of meats and stuff like that. You have, plastic materials, you have paper. Effort is made to actually separate these things. And it starts from, teaching the kids in school why this is necessary. And there are designated places where this waste can be deposited because they're going to be taken onward for further recycling. And not only Germany, specifically a lot of the European countries, because I've been to Italy, I've been to Croatia, I've been to Poland. It's pretty much the same standard. It's as if there was a major reawakening in Europe and said, you know what, we are going to pay attention to recycling. And they are actually, investing a lot of money in ensuring that this is so. They're also investing a lot of education to tell you the benefits of you separating your waste and actually, putting efforts to support the recycling effort here in Germany. I've seen it here in practice. I have seen materials that have been made from recycled materials. I have seen what recycling can actually do for the environment and how it can actually save a lot of costs. The last time I had to buy printing paper, I had to deliberately go for recycled printing paper because I knew that was my only two efforts of supporting this effort. Because why buy, white paper when I can actually use recycling just to print out documents that are eventually going to be, filed. It wasn't necessary to buy, white bonds, the brownish paper, which is pretty much from recycled material, also work as long as my printer didn't reject that paper. But in Africa, specifically in Nigeria, where I come from, this is still not a thing that you will see all the time. Waste are still being, dumped together in one place. Yes, give or take, you hear people talking about recycling, but most of the time, this is just at the level of just talk. In practicality, people are not so aware on the need why they should go ahead, separate their garbages, and even make effort to dispose of them properly, simply because the government also is not doing a lot to ensure that these facilities are there to make sure that this process become very seamless. The process to separate waste, separate paper from plastic, plastic from food materials and stuff like that is not there. So you have a situation where people just, dump everything together and at the end of the day, take this garbage that is kind of mixed up and just take it to a location and dump it there, form a lot of landfills. And thereafter, the government comes to try to burn it up. And at the end of the day, it pollutes the environment. Even though, like I said, recycling is a thing that everybody talks about in theory, but in practice, a lot is still left to be desired. And I do think that the government of the day, sooner or later, will have this clarion call, this wake-up call to finally realize that, look, recycling of waste should be a thing. It's good for the environment. It can save a lot of resources. And generally, it will just be the best way to do things. I hope the government, and generally, would just be, the best way to do things. Another thing that kind of shocked me was the fact that public transportation is at its best here. You see, you've gotten trains, you've gotten buses, you've got trams, you've got all manner of public transportation to take you from one point to the other. There's pretty much no place you are going now where you will not have a connection. The issue of you even living, 100 kilometers away from Munich, as it were, shouldn't even be a problem, because if you live in a place like, say, Freising, or even after Freising, if you know this region very well, you are going to have the possibility to go to work in Munich, to go to work even at a place that is farther than Munich, because there are all varieties of public transportation here. You've got a high-speed train. You've got a normal train that just, stops at, every 5 or 10 minutes. You've got a tram. If you get to Munich and you don't want to take the bus, there's possibility for you to take a tram. And apart from that, you've still gotten a bus connection. If you are saying to yourself, see, I'm not saying to yourself, I'm not really in a hurry, I just want to go with the bus. And most of the time, the tram connection is kind of different from the train, the bus connection. And the train connection is just to ensure that you can actually move, within localities in the state. And that has been working perfectly. When I came, I was shocked. Using a train alone, you can actually travel the whole of Germany and the whole of Europe. Because if you take a look at the big stations like Munich, Frankfurt, Düsseldorf, they all have connecting trains to all other parts of Europe, to France, to Poland, to Italy, pretty much everywhere. I said that is not enough. You also have bus connections, connecting, European countries, connecting different cities, different states within Germany, within Europe. It is amazing. That kind of shocked me because I was just coming from Africa, like I said, and the bus connections that you have, they are pretty much like private buses. The bus connections, I'm talking about public buses that have been, set up with taxpayers' money, and the government is doing everything to make sure that they are running. They are working seamlessly. Of course, give and take, there are instances where there are delays or a trip is kind of cancelled. But to say that between two cities, there is no more connection, you have to figure it out yourself. That doesn't happen yet. The public transport system works perfectly. And considering that I was just coming from Africa, specifically Nigeria, and right there, most of the transportation systems, they are pretty much private. You have these systems of private buses running between different locations. The public system right there, a lot is still left to be desired. That shocked me to realize that, look, public transportation is actually a possibility. I didn't know it was possible. All my life, I was always using, private buses. We had to pay a lot just to use the private, buses. And most times, this wasn't so, convenient because the buses are broken. They are not well kept. Most of the time, the condition in which the buses are in terms of, mechanical condition cannot even be guaranteed. But here, the public transport system, they are great. The last time I went to Frankfurt, I had to travel with a high-speed train. In 3 hours, 15 minutes, ideally, that train should have been in Frankfurt, but give or take, there were delays. But the thing that shocked me was that within that bus, the ECE, as it were, was a wireless LAN connection, the possibility for you to charge your phone, a very comfortable seat, noise-free, pollution-free, safe. And at the end of the day, we left Munich Bahnhof and we arrived in Frankfurt. It was amazing. It blew my mind, and I can't, just stop thinking about it. And each time I think about the fact that there is a public transport system that works in Europe and in Germany, guys, I'm telling you, not just Germany here. Like I said, I've been to so many European countries and I see that it is the same. There is always a tram system in place, a bus system in place, a train system in place, and the list goes on and on and on. Even in some places, the government even goes further to provide, bicycles that you can actually take, rent for a few euros, like €5 or €10, and use it at your own convenience. This is huge. And where I come from, in Africa, specifically Nigeria, there is still a lot to be desired. Of course, in some cities like Lagos or Abuja, the government is already doing a lot because these are bigger cities. And because of that, they have more money to spend. They have more, ideas. They are more trying to recreate the cities to look more like what you have in Europe. But once again, there is still a lot that is left to be desired. The buses need to be well cared for. Government should do more in terms of, creating a very good organization or a body that's supposed to manage these buses to ensure that they are fit at all times, not just driving buses that either they are delayed or they get broken down or stuff like that. Of course, like I said, there are some places where there are already very functional trains, within cities, between Lagos and Abuja, for example, or between Lagos or Ibadan. Of course, these things are banned, but there is still a lot that can still be done in the area of public transportation, which already is working here seamlessly. And that thing that blew my mind when I came here, which is pretty much one of the, the things that I'm still here to recover from, is the fact that there are parks everywhere you go. You go anywhere you see a garden, you see places that you can sit. You go to a public place, you can have picnic there, you can sit down because in the public place, there are possibilities for you like banks. It's called banks here, chairs where you can actually sit and do whatever you want to do. You can sit down there and relax, enjoy the atmosphere. There are flowers everywhere you go. This is huge. When I came here, the first place I went was the English Garden because I had read about it for so long and I wanted to visit it to see for myself. When I got there, I was shocked how clean and well kept the English Garden is. You could spend a whole day there with your family. You could make pictures all you like. And this is not just peculiar to Munich alone. You go to other cities, other locations, you will always find a playground, a public space where people can come, spend time with your kids, sit down and read some book, just relax. Even if you don't want to read or eat, just sit down and relax. Put your headphone on and listen to a good music. And these places, they are so safe. There have been so little incidences of, people coming here to commit crime or people coming there to litter the place or people coming there to disturb public peace. As long as it's a park and it has been, defined as such, it's always very quiet. People are very responsible. Everybody just comes there to make use of that facility, which is to relax, relieve your head of a lot of stress. And most of the time, people even make appointments to have meetings in such gardens. In Freising, there are a lot of parks. Pretty much every 2-3 kilometers you go, you're going to find, a playground for kids or just a little place that has been designated where you can actually go and relax. Unfortunately, in most of the African countries, and specifically in Nigeria, where I come from, this is still a luxury. Of course, like I said, the big cities like Lagos, perhaps they might be trying to already incorporate this, but I'm telling you, there's still a lot to be done in this regard. A lot of the lands are being sold to, people, and there's just no plan in place, for a particular locality to have these parks. And even if they are there, sometimes your safety cannot be guaranteed because of the way things are. People are kind of, tired. They are stressed out. People have different problems, and sometimes they want to go to the parks to vent their anger, to do all manner of, craziness. And depending on where you live, one cannot really advise you that you stay out late in the park. But right here, you could be in the park up to 10, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, and you can be sure that, look, you are going to be safe. There are lighting systems everywhere. I have not seen a situation where a particular park doesn't have light. You're going to see light. Of course, wicked people, go there to destroy these facilities, to defecate there sometimes, to push down these flowers and kind of break them, destroy the lighting system. But as soon as they realize that a particular unit of a particular lighting system is damaged or destroyed, or the bulb is like broken, before you know what's going on, they come and they fix it. As if that is not enough, the cleaners come there every now and then to make sure that the place is clean. They remove the garbages, make sure that everything is looking very, beautiful, and the flowers are well kept. These places, they all have, garden services coming there to make sure that everything is looking exactly the way it should. The city where I come from, I think there are just like 1 or 2 parks compared to the population of people that lives in the city. A lot is still left to be desired. And I hope that the government, one way or the other, they get to see what's going on here and say to themselves, look, we need to, create facilities like this. Facilities like this are meant for the benefit of the people. They are meant for people to relax, to picnic, to be able to spend time with loved ones and families, and not just something that should be left for Europe alone. You see, another thing that kind of surprised me was the fact that there are roads, connecting roads here in Germany, Europe-wide. And I'm just telling you, this is not, me kind of knocking Africa or Nigeria. I'm just saying that this was what I saw that kind of shocked me. The roads are so clean. They are so well built, so solid. Connecting road, I have driven 800 kilometers without having to find a pothole. That is an amazing thing that will shock anybody that comes from Africa. It doesn't matter if you are coming from Lagos or Abuja this time around. You coming here and seeing the quality of roads, the Autobahn, leading Freising, the A9, one of the longest Autobahns you have in Germany here. It is amazing how clean and how smooth this road is. And I'm asking myself, how was this ever done? You see, there is road leading you wherever you want to go. I've never seen, an earth sand. The roads are all tarred. It doesn't matter if it's leading to a small village, a small city, it is going to be tarred. And just tarring it is not enough. The maintenance services on this road pretty much happens every now and then. Every summer, as soon as the winter is gone, you see these guys coming with their cars, trying to clean up the road, patch it up wherever, any crack has been found. And sometimes, even when there are no cracks, they just come, they put a new layer of asphalt. And sometimes it is amazing how dedicated these maintenance workers are. They take every care to make sure that the road is well done. And the incidents of abandoned project, I have never seen. There is always a worker on every road construction site, just making sure that the project is completed in record time. I have not seen a project that just lingers on without being attended to. Most of the projects here, they started and they are completed in record time. I went to Dusseldorf, I went to Frankfurt, I went to Hamburg. The story is the same. I went to Italy, went to Croatia, went to Poland. The story is the same. Beautiful road connecting these cities. This was a major shock for me. And even up to now, when I'm driving on the streets of Munich, I cannot cease to just, acknowledge the fact that, man, this is huge. This is amazing. Where I come from, there is a lot to be desired once again. The roads are bad, potholes everywhere. Whenever it rains, it's always a headache. and most times from nowhere, a road that is done in less than 6 months, you begin to see cracks. And whenever those cracks come in, you see that it takes a long time for the maintenance service to come, if there is even any at all, because some of the time, this was a project that was done by a previous government, and now the government is no longer there, and the new government does not see this road as a priority. And because of that, the road is left dilapidated. Motorists are left to, go through these potholes in pains. And this was how I grew up. And when I came here, you can pretty much tell how shocked I would have been to realize that, the public roads are well built, and it's the responsibility of the state or the federal government to ensure that the roads are drivable. And whenever there is work to be done, this work are done in record time, also by competent hands, to just ensure that everything works perfectly. It's amazing. To say I wasn't shocked was to say the least. And up till now, like I said, I still have to commend the government here in most of the European countries, because the road system is simply, excellent. Digital services, this is something that was very, very alien to me. When I came, I had no idea what digital banking was, online banking as it were, making payments online, payment processing. Of course, I understand that right now, it's much better in Nigeria, because a lot of these fintech companies are also going there to, make sure that they take advantage of the fact that people are tired of carrying cash. People are tired of going to the banking halls to just, stand endlessly. So a lot of fintech companies are already going there to, introduce some of these payment stuffs, like, PayPal now works there, if I understand correctly. Online bank transfer is now a thing, and it kind of happens pretty quickly. But when I came to Germany here, all that wasn't in place. Right here, everything you do is pretty much digital. You want to make your appointment with a company, you can go online and book your appointment. And if you book your appointment, you can be sure that that appointment is going to be binding, because you have booked it from the, the company's, website. And most times it's a functional website. You're not going to be experiencing issues like the server is down or stuff like that. I tried to renew my Nigerian passport a few days ago. I knew what I actually passed through to finally book the appointment. I'm not coming here to bash the embassy, like I said, but I'm just saying that digital services here is at its finest. You want to do anything, open an account, pay for your insurance. You want to contact your insurance company. You want to, buy a new car. There is always a digital service that's waiting for you. You want to look for an apartment. You want to transfer money. Everything works. You even want to transfer money and you want the recipient to get it the same day, there's a possibility for that. You want to make payments online, pay within the country you live in, which is Germany, or you want to pay someone in another European country. Everything works seamlessly. And this was a major shock to me, because I was just coming from Benin City in Nigeria at the time, and we didn't have a lot of digital services. Everything had to be done manually. If I needed to do a bank transaction, I needed to go to the banking hall, stay on the queue. I needed to, physically pay cash. If I needed to buy a government service or like an insurance policy, I needed to go there with cash, and everything was just so messed up. If I needed to pay, my school fees at the time, or my lecture fees, I needed to take cash to do it. If I needed to, buy something, I needed to go physically into the supermarket or the place to buy this item physically and bring it home. There was, pretty much non-existent, digital service right there. But like I said, now things are beginning to take shape. Gradually, we are seeing situations where now you can do transfers with ease. You can buy stuffs, on the internet and get delivered to you. You can even open your account in the comfort of your own home. I heard that's possible now. I haven't verified it yet, but then if that is already happening there, I want to say kudos to whoever is making that happen. But these are the things that shock me. And most of the time, I am still living in this shock. Hopefully, the people at the helms of affairs, when they come here, they're able to see all these things that worked. We've talked about so many things: the public toilet system, the road networks, the digital services, recycling facilities. We hope that they can bring some of these things back to Africa and even to Nigeria, and try to incorporate some of these things, so that when people are coming from Nigeria or Africa, as it were, to Europe or to Germany, they are not going to be shocked the way I was shocked. Let me know what you think. Go to the comment section. Let me know your thoughts. Give me a comment. I'll be glad to read it and also to respond to you. Until I see you again in the next video, peace out.